Hello again, and welcome to Module 2, Lesson 6. In this lesson, we are going to be talking all about pricing. The question I hear most commonly is, how do I figure out how much to charge? I know to answer that question, it's really tempting to simply look around you and let's say you want to be a graphic designer. So you'll look at other graphic designers and say, okay, well, what are they charging? And then charge the same thing. The reason why this type of pricing method doesn't work is because it doesn't account for your lifestyle. Your expenses are not going to be the same as another graphic designer, and so your pricing really shouldn't be the same either. What I want you to do in this module is figure out how much your time is worth. Even if you're selling a physical product or an information product, this is a very important number to know. As I walk you through this lesson, I want to help you figure out how much your time is worth per hour. But first, before we do that, I want you to take a step back and I want you to look at your lifestyle and your expenses, and I also want you to look at your experiences. I know we've been talking a lot about your strengths and how you can use those to position yourself as an expert. Your expertise is worth something, and it should be factored into your hourly worth or your hourly rate. Let me tell you a story I heard one time as an example about a graphic designer who was meeting a client for a drink. The client asked the designer to draw a logo. So the designer pulled out a cocktail napkin and drew the perfect logo for the project. The client, thrilled to have gotten a beautiful product so quickly, promptly offered to compensate the designer by saying, "How much do I owe you?" The graphic designer replied, $15,000. The client was shocked and said, "But that only took you 15 minutes." To which the designer replied, "No, that took me 15 years. As entrepreneurs, we forget all too quickly that something that takes us 15 minutes to quickly and easily produce is actually built on years of experience that we all too often forget to charge for. The moral of that story is this: as you continue to strengthen your strengths, you'll be able to position yourself as an expert and you'll be able to command a higher price. Now, this is totally different than what other business coaches will tell you to do. In the worksheets for this lesson, I'm going to walk you through a process that allows you to factor in your expenses and your expertise into an hourly rate. Now, you may be surprised by some of the outcomes of the worksheet. If you live a lean lifestyle, you may be able to charge a little bit less and save your clients some money, and everybody can still be happy. If you live a more extravagant lifestyle, you may have to charge a little bit more. And if you start to wonder if your prices are getting too high, you may have to adjust your lifestyle or add value to the experience, which we'll talk about in a later module. In this course, my plan is not to tell you how to price your products, because pricing products and services can be very different, and that could probably be a whole course in and of itself. Once you understand what your time and experience is worth, you can confidently hold your shoulders back and justify your price. Understanding your hourly rate can also help you create a filter for opportunities. So, for example, the next time someone asks you to collaborate on something, you can gauge the value of that opportunity by asking yourself two important questions. Number one, how much time will this cost me? And number two, how much money does this collaboration have the opportunity to make? Once you have those two numbers, you can decide if it's a collaboration that's worth an investment of your time and energy. Part of the point of this module is to get you to come up with an hourly rate that's going to help you justify the activities you're going to be involved in as an entrepreneur going forward. But another important thing to note about determining that hourly rate is this: as your team grows and as your expenses grow, that hourly rate number will increase. For example, let's go back to that graphic designer. And let's say she uses an accountant to help her with invoicing. When a client orders a logo and is billed by the bookkeeper for the graphic designer has to cover the cost of the bookkeeper's time, as well as cover the cost of the time associated with creating the logo. So don't forget to factor in administrative costs as well, and the worksheet will remind you to do that. This is another good reason to keep your expenses as low as possible for as long as possible. I know it's tempting to want to rush out and get a studio, but sometimes that's not the best decision because it's going to end up costing your client more money simply because you're going to have to charge more. Use the worksheet for this lesson to come up with a rough estimate of your expenses. If you have any questions, join us for the live Q&A call on this topic. There's always a lot of questions associated with pricing, and I'll be happy to answer as many of them as I possibly can. In the next lesson, we'll be finishing out Module 2 with an interesting lesson on success. So I'll see you over there.